News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. Indeed, make it a preset. Well, we have another day of trials for Trump today. Trial coverage going on throughout the day. And we had several people testify today, but the big thing is Monday is coming up with Michael Cohen, Monday. And one of the things I heard from the experts and the coverage and such is that this trial will probably be wrapped up early to mid next week. And then we wait for a verdict, which I can't believe we're actually going to get a verdict on this garbage. You know what I'm saying? I can't believe it's finally coming. This has been crazy. It's been slow going. And it's been angering to a lot of people because this is not what our country's supposed to do. But it has been doing this, and it's obvious to me and to so many of us, and maybe not to you, but that the Democrats have done a coordinated campaign with Joe Biden as the head of it, and his lawyers, his advisors in the White House, not private ones, but in the White House, have coordinated all of this, and so much so that the Department of Justice under Joe Biden, he has had his Department of Justice run the whole thing under his political people. And we know for a fact that the number 3 at the Biden Justice Department, literally 2 steps away, 2 heartbeats away from being the Attorney General of the United States of America, Matthew Colangelo, left his amazing perch as the number 3 most top cop in the country, so he could become a lowly prosecutor in New York City, and he's the lead prosecutor in this case. Stunning, but not really, because you've seen every single thing they've done to Trump is insane, and they're literally destroying this country as we all know it, and it's terrible. Could you imagine? Have you ever heard of a president being put in jail in the United States of America? Only in Venezuela, China, Russia, North Korea, third world countries would you ever see this. And here we are, and it's just so sickening and gross. And I pray that it makes most people say, you know what, I don't like Trump, I'm going to vote for him. His policies are great, and this is insane. We cannot let this happen. We cannot let this stand. And Joe Biden, the truth is Joe Biden is afraid of Trump. There's no way he would do this if he wasn't afraid of him and losing him. He cannot win without cheating, without rigging social media in the last election in 2020, so that you can't see the Hunter Biden stuff. 31 intelligence professionals, which may have been on the payroll at the time, underneath and being advised and guided to do just this as contractors. Hey, here you go. We're going to hire you. I want you to sign this letter. All coordinated by Joe Biden's campaign, the 31 former intelligence officials, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This whole thing, it is disgusting and embarrassing. And this is the only, here's why this is so massive, guys. Listen closely. This is the only trial that's going to be adjudicated before the fall election. This is it. And they've kept him off the campaign trail for 2-3 weeks now. And they could put him in jail for this. And I pray to God not, because a lot of people say they might change their views if he's convicted. So, in other words, again, there are no other trials that will be adjudicated, seen to the end, anything until after the election. And so I'm really hoping, and do not ever think we've got this in the bag. We do not. Do not. Anybody that tells you we got this in the bag, rebuke them. Now, Michael Cohen testifying Monday, Trump defense attorneys say the payments he had nothing to do with it, and I agree with Michael Cohen's former colleague, the lady who was their bookkeeper and went with Trump to the White House. I believe when she says that Cohen calls himself the fix-it guy because he breaks it first and then he fixes what he broke. And that's absolutely what I've been seeing in this. And to see the gag order today, Trump's team in the courtroom asked, hey, can you please put a gag order under Michael Cohen? Every night he's on on TikTok or Twitter, and he's attacking us on everything with the case. And the judge literally instead of giving him a gag order, he literally said, hey, prosecutor. He asked the prosecutor to do his own job for him. Hey, prosecutor, would you tell your client, Michael Cohen, your witness, your star witness, to be quiet? That's unheard of. That's unprecedented. Judge Jeanine Pirro was saying in 32 years of her being on the bench and being a DA in New York City area that she's never seen that happen before. So, and no gag orders. Jonathan Turley, constitutional law professor at GWU, says there should be no gag order in this case. There's none. There's no reason to, and there should be none. And if there was, it should be for everybody. So I want to ask you this question. Do you actually think the Democrats put these charges together against Trump just to make him look bad and to keep him off the campaign trail? Or do you actually think this case has merit? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. That's 800-288-WBAP. Chime in right now. Do you think the Democrats put these charges together against Trump just to make him look bad, as an election strategy to hurt his chances, maybe to get him convicted? The more and more this is playing out, they know there's no way in heck they're going to get a conviction. And I'm really going to be so sick and disgusted. Do not think, if they convict him, do not think that just because you have two lawyers on that jury, one, including one who's a foreman, do not even think for a second, a New York minute, that they're going to tell people, no, dude, this is so bogus, and here's why. I'm a lawyer. Let me tell you why. I don't think they're going to do that. Apparently, from my memory, Jesse Waters from Fox News said at least one of them, and I think he said both of them, are corporate lawyers that have DEI stuff on their website. So if you imagine the people that you and I know and love in our family or our neighbors that we love or know and we have a great relationship with that are totally hate Trump, can you imagine them being a lawyer and saying the truth? I can't, because their hatred of him is so bad. And so that's the thing. And I mean, I think of some of my direct, immediate family members from my youth, some of my siblings, and they're totally, I mean, one of them said, yes, put Trump in jail on some social media thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, but I don't get into it with them. I don't want to get negative because I want to have a good relationship with them. If he was on that jury, he would, and he was an attorney, he would convince them why it's right. Look at the fake news MSNBC attorneys that are on there. They're legal experts. Look at them explain why Trump is so guilty, why this is so bad. Look at half the people on fake news CNN who are legal experts saying, oh, this is a very serious crime, when everybody knows that the emperor has no clothes, there is no serious crime. And everybody knows this is the Democrats and Joe Biden coordinating this whole thing. Everybody knows the FEC, Federal Elections Commission, the Justice Department under Biden, and the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney did not prosecute. There was no case. Everybody knows Cy Vance, the former DA for Manhattan, said, there's nothing here, I'm not going to do it. Everybody knows a leftist activist in the DA's office, prosecutor, left and resigned under protest because the charges weren't brought, because even this current this current DA, Alvin Bragg, said, I'm not going to charge it, there's nothing here. So this guy left the team and then wrote a book about how bad this whole thing was and why Trump's so bad, and then he decided to change his mind and do it. This whole thing is a disgrace. John in Dallas, you have joined us on 820 AM and now on FM 93.3 WBAP.
Hey, how you? I always enjoy the show. They have to, this is illegal and unconstitutional for them to be falsely attacking Trump through the courts. You know it, I know it, most of the Democrats know it. Fortunately, and it's hilarious, but it's working in Trump's favor dramatically. He's getting more from this than being out on the campaign trail. But this would not work in the favor of most other candidates, conservative, on the right, or otherwise. Trump's a special case. You know, God raised him up for a time as this. So we've got to stop this so it can't be used in the future.
I hope you're right, but the thing is, I don't think you're speaking from the perspective of a community that literally hates the man, and 90% of them despise him and are Democrats and will never vote for him.
Well, yeah, so why worry about it?
And they're on the jury.
Oh, yeah.
So can you imagine if all of them are in that camp? Can you imagine if, all we have to do is hope that some of those fake news CNN legal analysts are railing against the case, and, basically everyone on Fox is, but so maybe it's one of those. But, I mean, dude, if it's one of the ones we see on fake news MSNBC or half the ones we see on CNN, they're going to convince the attorneys and everybody else is going to be like, yeah, that he's guilty. It's serious. It's bad. So that's my problem with thinking.
We need to fight it. We need to fight it. We need to stop this. This is wrong. This is illegal. It's unconstitutional.
Well, of course, we can't stop it until it's adjudicated. This attorney is 120% in the tank against Trump, and his daughter makes millions off of it through her company that does Democrat fundraising. That he's voted twice for Democrat fundraising, all sorts of stuff. And it's just, I am so concerned. I honestly don't know what's going to happen, but I'm with you. I hope that he gets exonerated. That would be great. And then he goes out and wins. Becky in Arlington. Actually, Becky, stand by. I want to take you next on the Chris Crock Show. Becky is saying that Trump, she's going to talk about whether or not she thinks he did something wrong. But the other thing is, why are they doing this? Why is Joe Biden leading all this, and this is him? Why is he afraid to run against Trump without cheating and throwing him in jail? Well, there's a new poll on independents, Biden versus Trump. Who's the greater threat to democracy? It's very telling. And then also a second one about nostalgia for Trump is real and could decide the election from a very leftist publication. And I've got that poll that they cite from the New York Times Siena, and both are really good in our favor, but it doesn't mean we're going to win. That's why they want to throw him in jail. That's next. Those results next on the Chris Crock Show on 8:20 a.m. and now on FM 93.3 WBAP. By the way, a hat tip to producer Garrett the First. He is here tonight. We're both wearing a Stone shirt. I haven't double-checked you wearing a Stone shirt. I'm going to take a picture and we'll put it up on the socials. I always love to do that. Follow me on Twitter at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show. And on Facebook at Chris Crock Show. ChrisKrock. Becky in Arlington on the Trump trial. You are on 8:20 a.m. and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Talk to me, Becky.
Well, I think this trial is a sham, and Trump said they're putting me first here, and if they can do it to him, they can do it to anybody. And fortunately, he has enough power behind him to hopefully get through all this. The gag order is one-sided, and I don't think that's fair. If it's for him, it should be for everyone. The jurors, I can just hope that they'll listen with an honest ear and not hold their whatever way they want to vote against him, and that they'll do it honestly. I don't know if that'll happen, and he very possibly could be convicted.
Go ahead, sorry.
But I think it would be overturned, but that would take time.
Yeah, here's the thing on that. Okay, I do think in my heart, I do think that there's going to be one or two people, maybe even three or four, that are like, I mean, they haven't even listened to this. This is what's insane. Their star witness is on Monday, and there's not much more after that. Apparently, they might even rest the case. You know, Cohen's probably going to go for 1 to 3 days like Stormy did as far as the length. But once they rest, defense might not do too much because here's the thing, though. Here's a big thing. Twofold on that. Number one, they still haven't laid out what the crime is. They haven't even told the people in the jury what the crime is. They've not said it, and they've not shown it. It's beyond unreal. So and Judge Jeanine Pirro is biased like you and I are on this. Obviously, we all want Trump to win, but she said, you know, she's been in the court twice, Thursday, yesterday, and today, Friday, and she said that the jury is basically pretty bored. And it's kind of some of the stuff they're putting their head in their hands, like shaking my head type, emoji, on some of this lascivious stuff that's unnecessary. But they're losing them. It's getting boring. I in my heart of hearts, I think that 2 to 4 might just say this. There's not a case here. This is ridiculous. I hope that's the case because if you have 1 or 2, they might be able to get bullied. Channeling 12 Angry Men, but this one's not a good justification to convict or let, vice versa. But channel something like 12 Angry Men in the reverse, where 1 or 2 people are bullied by 10 liberals who, and then the 1 or 2 are worried they're going to get doxxed, fired, attacked, and, get the social beatdown for the world who hates Trump on this. So that's where my hope is it'll be 2 to 4. And and I know we cannot the media and the liberal folk involved with this whole thing, they're going to leak out who these people are against the law, just like they did with Trump's taxes. Like there was nothing out of bounds with all these people. It's just it's so disgusting and angry. And you can hate Trump and you can not like any of his policies, but to do these things is so insane. It is just so unreal. So, so I also if they convict him, which would be breathtakingly stupid and horrible, but it could happen. We have to be prepared for that mentally. If they do, this will not get appealed, and it will be a successful appeal. Like a lot of stuff's going to be rebuked and thrown out by the appeals court for the state of New York and or the Supreme Court. But that's not going to happen until after the election, and that could literally be the thing that gets him 5 points less in the election, and he loses.
Yes, and I do think Biden did this on purpose because they're scared. They're afraid he's going to win.
They got to have something. Yeah,
they got to have something, and I hope he does win because if he doesn't, we're screwed.
I do agree that it's unthinkable. I just thought about this again today. Like, how could you not? Even fake news CNN has showed how bad the economy is, how bad people say they've shown the polls, how bad Biden is for the economy and their personal lives and everything. African Americans, men particularly, are just skyrocketing going towards Trump. But instead of 8 points like 2016, they're going to go up to, or 2020, they're going to go up to 20 or 22 now. It's unbelievable. Young people are now almost tied with Trump and Biden. But that guilty verdict could get it in for them. And here's why Biden's doing this. Because he can't beat Trump fair and square. Trump nostalgia is real, says the Liberal Patriot, a well-known blog for a liberal outlook on things. Trump nostalgia is real and could decide the election. They cite the New York Times Siena poll that shows the net approval rating for Joe Biden from they just did this past month. The net approval rating for Biden is negative 29 on the economy. Negative 29. Biden is negative 29 approval versus disapproval. Trump on who do you disapprove of or approve of the way they handle the economy or is handling or was handling the economy? Trump is positive 31. So Trump is positive 31. Biden is net negative 29. That is literally an exact 60-point difference in who handles the economy better. 60 freaking points. That is, I can't even believe that. It's unbelievably amazing. And then Joe lied and said, "Oh, the economy's great. Oh, everything's great. What do you mean?" In his interview on Fake News CNN yesterday or the day before, here it is, right here. Hold on.
Since you took office. Economic growth last week, far short of expectations. Consumer confidence, maybe no surprise, is near a 2-year low. With less than 6 months to go to Election Day, are you worried that you're running out of time to turn that around?
We've already turned it around. The polling data has been wrong all along.
Yeah, we already turned it around. The polling data has been wrong all along. Okay, that's punching you in the face and saying you're wrong as you're suffering. Last thing, a brand new independent poll for independents. Biden is a greater threat to democracy than Trump by 9 points. It's over in that regard. But I'm telling you, we don't got this election at all. I'm just saying it's over as far as right now. It's amazing. Okay, up next on the Chris Crock Show, we have 2 cases with guns being smuggled in or snuck into 2 campuses. And I want to ask you, what do you think are some of the best tactics to keep guns off campus, and what would you like to see done at your campus to protect your kids? That's next to the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I wanted to get into this one now, guns on campus. We've seen, this is the second or third time we've seen guns on campus, a brand new one from a DeSoto student, 17-year-old let in. A DeSoto high school student let a 17-year-old with a gun inside the school. That 17-year-old does not go to that school, according to Fox 4. Not a student in the district, allowed inside the building by another student during an altercation. So nobody was injured. It happened during lunch. Intruder had a gun, was let inside. In detaining the students, DeSoto ISD says, who were involved in this altercation, the intruder student, it was discovered the student who did not attend schools here had a weapon on his person. That weapon was never brandished, never fired, was not visible to the crowd. Well, that's great. It wasn't visible to the crowd, but it was there on the premises. You know what this tells you? And it tells me? You can do anything you want to try to stop guns. It's not going to stop them. If somebody wants to get a gun on the campus, they will get it. And any illusions that somehow because you have metal detectors or clear plastic bags, that doesn't do anything, and it actually makes people, I think, more at ease falsely. And so this guy was let in, undoubtedly from inside with a locked door. I mean, my speculation, of course. And they implemented a no backpack policy around the breaks at the end of school. Going into spring break, Thanksgiving, winter break, DeSoto says we actually removed the use of backpacks by our scholars. I like how they call them scholars. You would not have called me a scholar if I was in high school right now. I would not be your scholar. I'd be your guy getting in trouble, borderline too much trouble, where they told me to graduate earlier, or they were going to send me to the bad boy school. That's where the burnout, like serious druggies and burnouts and gang members go. So yeah, I took the deal to be able to walk in graduation, but graduate a semester early and then make them happy that I fled. I didn't flee; they kicked me out. My mom told me, there was a meeting, I had no idea, I was surprised in the meeting. My mom told me, I swear to you, she didn't tell me this way back when. She knew going into this what they were going to do, but I didn't. Boy, is she a smart one. Scared straight. It worked. So I want to ask you with this. And by the way, clear backpacks are displayed. They're talking about this on the Fox 4 story as well. They have clear backpacks at a lot of our schools. Seeing what is happening around schools, the Houston ISD says across the country served as the impetus for district leaders to come together to deliberate this very important change. Clear backpacks are not going to stop anything either. It will not stop anything. Metal detectors will not stop anything. Here's my question for you, as Dwayne would say, my question. What do you think are some of the best tactics for keeping guns off our campuses in DFW? And what would you like to see done at your campus to protect your kids? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. What blew me away is, I believe it was the WFAA TV Channel 8 story, that they interviewed a Chief Kunkel, I think, was it? Was he the former Dallas police? Not him, I think. It was a former DISD police chief who was there for years, long time, and then retired, and then now is a security expert and goes around the country being hired to, teach districts how to protect themselves from school shootings and such. And he said that metal detectors are useless. There was a gentleman who is a professor at a university who's an expert in criminal justice and knows all the facts and studies and information. He said in that story, too, that no matter that metal detectors don't work and the clear backpacks don't work either, that all it does is provide a sense of security, which may actually make things worse. I'll tell you this. So what do I want, by the way? What do I want to answer my own question for you? And by the way, chime in right now at 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. What do you think are some of the best tactics for keeping guns off campus? And what would you like to see done at your campus to protect your kids? Well, as I've mentioned, I think metal detectors are a joke. They're very cost prohibitive and they do nothing. I'm reminded of when I was in Spanish class with Mrs. Welsh. All the guys had a crush on her. She's a real good-looking lady, a younger teacher. And I was bored one day, which is why I got into trouble a lot. And I literally, when her back was turned and she was writing on the chalkboard once, I went over to the window. We were on the first floor. There was the courtyard was right there, whatever you call it. And I climbed out of the window and went around and had fun for a half hour, then came back in when the class was over. So if you're able to sneak out of a room, there's no question you can bring a gun back, and you can put the gun outside, hide it in a bush, and then come back, later on and climb out, take it in, and jump back. There is no limit to how you can smuggle in a weapon. So metal detectors are the biggest joke to me, and I hear a lot of folks saying that they want them, but aside from the cost, you can be like, well, you want one life to be saved, like if it saved one life. Listen, you would have to have one at so many doors. And your kid's going to be taught that your school's a prison, and it should never be a prison. The way to win on this is to have it, and school resource officer at every campus is not going to happen at all. There was a story on that. We went in depth on it. There was one wealthier area district in the Fort Worth area, and they did this. They came up with money because they have a lot of money personally, so they all chipped in. They got armed security or armed police officer off duty 24/7, but that's in wealthy districts. You cannot afford it. Our government cannot afford it in any state. It's not realistic. The answer is to arm teachers and staff that qualify under our Texas laws. They pass a background check. They're an employee. They could be a janitor, a teacher, doesn't matter. They pass the background check. The school board votes to clear them, and then we have armed teachers. That's who I want. I want one armed teacher in every wing of the building. And that way, if one or two are off because of vacation or something like that, there's 2 or 3 more on the campus all sprinkled about strategically. That's what I think we need to do. That's it. That's the answer. Matt and Venus, you are on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP. Chris Crock Show. Hello, Matt and Venus.
Hey, how are you?
Good, brother. How are you?
I'm great.
Is that it?
Well, yeah. No, I'm fantastic. I think having an armed former military guard at every wing of the school, I don't really necessarily agree with having teachers there that are armed. That could open up a can of liability worms. But if you had retired ex-military that were sane, sober, moral, and prudent guards, I think that would stop a lot of it for sure.
Military are not civilian, and people will often equate like military folks or former military people like, well, I was in the military. Actually, military is nowhere near anything like civilian. It's completely different. It's not the same in any way, shape, or form. You're not trained anything like it. The rules, everything have nothing to do with it. Maybe if you're an MP, military police officer, like my dad was for years, but even that, it's civilian. It's not civilian laws. The search, seizure, warrants. There's all sorts of stuff that are totally opposite. So experience on that is good if you become a police officer, but and the amount of money you're going to pay, it's going to be cost prohibitive. For example, the money just to put one officer at every elementary school is insane. For example, as you would imagine, you have one high school. It's much cheaper to have a cop there, an armed cop, or somebody who's actually the real deal there. One or two at a high school. But there's 8 to 10. I'm guessing here, but there's probably about 8 to 10 elementary schools feeding into one high school. It's not economic. It's insane. It's like billions. I can't recall the number, but it was laughable to even think it would be possible. Why don't you trust teachers? I mean, I have a concealed carry. You don't need a concealed carry anywhere, but I have a concealed carry, and I've had it for like 10, 12 years, and I've never produced my gun, and I've never used it. But why wouldn't you trust somebody like, me, that's a teacher? I don't understand that. They'd have to go through all the training. There's about 30 hours of training, including school shootings and handling shooting and how to handle it in a place like where they're at, obviously specific to them. They'd have to pass background checks, psychological check, and the school board would have to vote for them to do it. They'd have to approve it. So why would you be against that?
I don't know if I'd be against it per se if they were trained properly.
That's the law. The law says that you have to be.
Yeah.
It's like 20 or 30 hours of training just specifically for school shootings.
Sure. As long as they're
don't you trust them?
Trained.
Yeah. Do you consider 20 to 30 hours or something around that area to be adequately trained?
No, I think it should be regularly just as much as they have to do professional development. They should be doing regular training.
You mean law enforcement?
Quarterly.
Law enforcement training? Like they're a cop?
Close to it.
That's going to cost you probably, I'm going to make up a guess here, and somebody that's on a police force might know this if they're listening, 20 to 40 grand to train one person. You think of it, you're talking about, at one point I was going to become a police officer. This is before I came here and before this is about 18 years ago. I was in between jobs and I wanted to become one. And I went through most of the thing. You're talking about 4 to 8 weeks and 40 hours a week. And you have to have a range. It's beyond insane to do this. So that's not feasible either. But let me ask you this. Do you have children in school right now?
Yes.
Okay. How old are they?
They are 10 and 6.
Okay, as a good father, I can tell you are, and a caring parent, you know their teachers, don't you? You or your wife. I mean, you know them enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you trust them to do the right thing if they were in a situation and they lock the doors and somebody's doing what we've done, like we've seen in these school shootings, they're shooting through the doors, and once they get in somehow, or it's not locked for some reason, do you trust them to shoot the guy, or do you want them to just sit there and cower? Would you prefer that because you don't trust them?
I don't know, because I don't know what they would be like in situations like that, as opposed to former military. If they've seen combat, or if they've done police duty, they've seen situations like that. Regular teachers don't see situations like that. So that's
combat is not. You have to understand, combat is not at all anything. You don't want somebody who has combat training. They're going to go into combat. That's not how.
Sure.
This is civilian. I mean, you're literally saying, take this apple, and we need to make more apples. Let's use oranges. But I do appreciate your call, sir. Thank you. I think that if my teacher was in the corner, like in Uvalde, that guy who's like, he's I can't remember his name, but he's very frail, and when he talks in interviews, he's kind of cracked up a little bit. And I'm not negative on it. It's because of what he went through. He saw like almost all of his students be shot and killed in front of him. But I don't believe, he's against guns, which is fine. But here's the thing. I think if he could have had a gun at that moment when they were in there locked in and the guy got in, I think he would have used it, and I would have trusted him. Okay, we got Josh in Las Colinas, and we got Lee and Alan. You're next, guys, on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3, 800-288 WBAP. All right, y'all, another student caught with a gun. This one, actually, he was not even a student. This was a stranger who was allowed on campus with a gun at DeSoto. And if it can happen there, it can happen in your district with your kids. And the questions I'm asking you on this at 800-288 WBAP, 800-288-9227. That's 800-288-9227. What do you think are some of the best tactics for keeping guns off campus, and what would you like to see done at your campus to protect your kids? Our last caller kept mentioning military, and that is not civilian training. It's not active shooter training. And he said combat. Combat is not what you're doing there. Man, you go into combat mode, you might kill a lot of people. A lot of friendlies get killed in combat. It has nothing to do with civilian training. And I would love a cop to call and tell me why I'm wrong, because you're not going to find one that's got like assault in their knowledge, I think, truthfully. And also, I just looked up on the fly how much does it cost to train an officer. One estimate that was from Florida about how much it costs. Anyways, it's they said it's the real cost is about $100,000 per cop for all the training. I mean, there's range training, there's all the stuff. My friend's a range guy. He used to be on the beat, and he's a range guy at one of the law enforcement places and outfits in Atlanta. Josh in Las Colinas, you are on 820 AM and now 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, brother.
Yeah, I was joking with Garrett. I said we should put the TSA in charge.
Yes.
Now, the downside is that your kids won't get into class until about early afternoon, and on some days they may not get in at all.
That's funny. Well, I mean, TSA is not trained for it either, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's just not the same thing, yeah.
But they keep guns off the airplanes, we'll say that. But
Mm-hmm. With the right machines, and we cannot afford those machines at every school.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, I agree with you on the teacher training. I think that like a refresher course, so I'm thinking training twice a year. In an affordable format, just to keep them on point.
Yeah, I think they do it once a year or something. I'll look it up too. But anyways, go ahead. So you think training the teachers is good and arming the teachers is the best option?
Absolutely, yeah. Obviously, the ones that want to. Now they need some type of protection as well. Think about how these cops are being treated in these shooting scenarios and stuff. Mm-hmm. These teachers. So many teachers are going to may want to, but they're going to fear, the repercussions of this could really turn ugly for them too.
Yes.
The other thing I was going to say is that's one side of it. That's protecting our kids in school. But the real bottom line here is the cultural issue, and this starts at the home.
Yes. And we can't legislate that or regulate that, unfortunately. But I totally agree with you.
We address the cultural issues in our homes.
Yeah.
The broken families, the missing fathers,
I agree.
Checked out parents, all of that.
Josh, great call, my friend. I appreciate it. I've got some stats on what Texas teaching regulations are, or in the amount of time and everything. I'll share that with you next. Plus, Lee and Alan has chimed in. We'll talk to him on the air next about the mandatory minimum for. This is interesting. He wants to go after the parents of the shooters. We'll talk about that as well coming up next. Plus, your call at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. What do you think are some of the best tactics for keeping guns off campus? And what would you like to see done at your campus to protect your children at the school? 800-288-WBAP is our number. And then also coming up next, oh my gosh, a worker busted for doing disgusting things with food that he was serving to people. We're going to talk about that coming up next.